Anyway, here we are, episode 25. 25. That means 25 weeks of this show.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's called NoLaughTrack. It's a podcast for Acme. My name's Justin Severson. Hi!
Hey, I'm Derek Hughes.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Justin.
Welcome to Minnesota.
Hey, thanks.
Have you been here before?
I grew up here. So, yeah, technically, yeah.
This is going to be weird. I should have done my research.
Came in for the first snow.
Oh, yeah, there was a little bit of snow.
Drifty.
There was a little bit of snow.
It was exciting.
What the hell? So how are you?
I'm great.
Let's do this shit.
This is exciting. I see why it's called NoLaughTrack. We're sitting in a fully illuminated Acme Comedy Company theater space with two people sitting in the fifth row.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
Let's get it out there. We're both from St. Paul.
We're both from St. Paul.
Yeah.
It's out now.
Yeah. You went to Central.
St. Paul Central.
I went to Humboldt. There's really nothing to brag about there.
And there's no real rivalry in my heart. I never felt a true allegiance with St. Paul Central. No offense to St. Paul Central. No offense to the Minutemen.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I went there junior and half of my senior year.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Where was before that?
Well, 10th grade was there was a short-lived Minnesota Conservatory of Performing Arts in downtown St. Paul. It was like a not even renovated. It was just a warehouse, the third level of a warehouse building, and it was a handful of the teachers and students. Do you remember the Children's Theater Company had a school?
No, but I remember the Children's Theater. I know that.
And the Children's Theater Company is still going strong and
right.
do amazing productions. We're actually going to take my 16-month-old Edward to see The Grinch.
Oh,
Christmas.
Yeah, that's out now.
Yeah, it's playing, so we're very excited. That theater's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a great, amazing theater. There was a school, and that school got shut down because of a scandal with the artistic director of the school and a student. But the training was amazing, and it wasn't like there was a culture of crime happening in the school. It was just something went public, and you can't have a relationship. An adult can't have a relationship with a kid.
Wow!
But here's the thing. Okay, they're still together to this day.
You know that?
Oh yeah, they live together. They're. I mean, it was a sad. It was a sad, stinky, sticky thing, and very morally ambiguous.
Sure.
However, the training was impeccable. I mean,
yes,
just
the
great
education
dance,
was fantastic.
Music, theater, and I was going to junior high in Stillwater. We had moved to Stillwater for a couple years from Roseville, so I started in Roseville.
Yeah.
We moved to Stillwater for junior high. 10th grade, I got into this Minnesota Conservatory of Performing Arts, which was only open for 4 years before a performing arts high school that was state-funded opened in Golden Valley, which is still going. It's the state arts school. So it's like, remember Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. We would actually joke going to eat lunch at the Galleria, the Gaultier Plaza food court. Someone would shout "spontaneous fame dance," and then we would all start pirouetting down the sidewalk like a bunch of pansies. It's fantastic. Manly roots.
I'm glad you realize that.
But so 10th grade, I could only afford to go for 1 year, but it was a handful of the teachers and students from the Children's Theater program that wanted their kids to continue that philosophy of education.
Yeah.
So, and then I couldn't afford, to keep going. It was expensive. It was like $10,000 a year or something.
Yeah.
So I went to St. Paul Central, which had a great theater program. And then
Well, what you've always told me is that there's two types of people. Well, there's actually three types of people that go to Central. It's either black nerds or black nerds. Is that correct? That was... You know what, Derek? That's the only thing I brought tonight that I...
That's fantastic.
That's the only thing I brought tonight. I have nothing.
Nerds or black nerds.
Yeah.
Urkel is the prototype.
Yeah. What I actually thought about that when I was in the bathroom today. I think I was picking a hair out of my face, and I was thinking about the podcast.
Your face looks very well groomed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And that came to mind. I was like, nerds, blacks, nerds or black nerds. That was what I brought. That was not rehearsed, but that wasn't off the top of the head, I'll admit.
So that you wrote that.
Yeah.
Good writing.
Thank you.
Was Humboldt, I mean, I spent less time focusing on who was at Central and more time focusing on getting out of Central.
Yeah?
I mean, I skipped so many days of school.
Doing what?
Going down to the river with Dominic Selly and getting high.
Yeah, there we
It
go.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
We would sneak off to Lee's Billiards on Larpenteur and play pool for hours.
I think it's
and
still
hours.
there.
It's not Lee's anymore.
Oh, but there is a pool hall there.
Yeah, it's Al's. I
Yeah.
think a guy named Al bought it from Lee. Lee was this grumpy old guy, but you could keep your cue behind the counter, and he knew what cue was yours.
Oh, what, you had your own?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had my own cue.
You're one of those guys.
Yeah. Fancy. What was that? Color of Money.
Yeah. You Minnesota
like-
Fats.
So we'd dance around with our sticks. Acting all fancy.
Yeah. 1986 inspired Color of Money.
Yeah, Lee's Billiards was awesome. I mean, you could smoke in there, and it had yellow tabletops, not the classic green, but it was all like these amber yellow tabletops, and they had a great jukebox. And Dominic Selly and I, my best buddy from high school, we met doing Romeo and Juliet in the St. Paul Central production. It was he was Romeo and I was his slave.
As long as you weren't Juliet.
Yeah, I wasn't.
No. So what, were you in the acting thing from early? 8?
I got into acting. I'm a magician, and I'm really into magic and sleight of hand. And I got into that when I was about 10. And as I got really into it. I nerded out hardcore from the get-go. From the first magic kit I got my hands on, man, I would save every dollar and sneak off to Eagle Magic Store, which used to be down on Portland Avenue in Minneapolis.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Larry Kalo. He since moved. He lost the lease on that space. But Eagle Magic is the oldest still operating magic shop in the country. The namesake, like the company. Now, it's moved locations a number of times, but as far as all magic stores that are still, brick and mortar magic shops still operating, Eagle Magic is, I believe, the oldest.
You give them the credit.
Well, they have the cred.
Yeah.
Now it's out in Burnsville. Larry moved it out there. Weird
Do you
little
still stop
stroll.
in?
I have.
Yeah.
And he's got all the old counters behind. Like, he's got fresh new counters in the sort of main shopping area. But if you ask him, you can go in the back and see all the old counters from the old shop.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah. It was really neat.
Very cool.
You know what he did when I was out there last time? I lost that first magic kit I got when I was 10. Mm-hmm. It was called The 100 Greatest Magic Tricks of the 20th Century.
Okay.
And on the back of that box, there was a couple pictures and a short sort of bio describing the Magic Castle, which had opened in 1963 out in Hollywood, California. It's a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and every night there's magic shows. Right now, Neil Patrick Harris is the reigning president of the Academy of Magical Arts, which is housed at the Magic Castle.
Sure.
So I lost that kit, and I would search for it online, like the Magic Castle Magic Kit. I just couldn't quite. I never could find it.
Yeah.
Amazon or anything. And then I'm back. Larry's showing me the back area of the new Eagle Magic Store with the old counters, and I see a box, and it's like this crazy flashback in time, and it's one of the boxes from inside that kit.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, can you get the rest of that?
Yeah.
And he's like, I think I can get my hands on that. And he hunted it down, and told me what it cost.
Oh.
And he shipped it to me.
Wow.
Oh man, it's the coolest. It was like a time capsule opening that box.
Yeah,
and
for
looking
sure.
at those effects that as a kid, they were the fantasy. Those were the looking and playing with those props and learning those tricks was in my mind the fantasy of a career of mystery.
Do you remember the first magician that you saw? What was your first experience? Do you remember?
Seeing live magic, one of the most profound experiences I had early on. I was 12 years old, and my grandmother, took me to see Doug Henning. Do you remember Doug Henning?
Oh, of course. Mustache,
long hair.
Yeah.
It's an illusion.
Yeah.
He was, kind of David Copperfield's rival in the early 80s. They both had network specials on different networks, and he was doing the Orpheum in downtown Minneapolis. And
so it's true. You mentioned this in your act. So that's,
I did tonight.
That's legit. Yeah.
I mentioned that because a buddy of mine, Jerry Martin, was sitting out here, who's a local juggler and variety artist, and so I knew he would appreciate that.
Oh, cool.
That day, when I went to see Doug Henning, I was 12 years old, and he's like, I need someone to help me on stage. And my hand shot up. And I knew, it was one of those feelings, like I knew I was going to get picked.
Yeah.
And he picked me.
Yeah.
And I went up on stage, and so precocious. I'm 12 years old. I have business cards printed. Okay? Derek Hughes, magician. Okay?
Yeah.
And I hand him one on stage. The Orpheum Theater. I'm a magician too. Doug Henning, heart full of love. I'm sure you are.
Perfect.
It was great, man. It was great. And I just felt so touched and moved. And also as a 12-year-old, to have that opportunity to go on that size of stage and look out and see what that feels like.
Oh, for sure.
Man, it was like that cemented that shit.
Yeah.
That made
Wow.
it for real.
Do you remember Twin Cities? They're still around. Twin Cities Magic. Is that the name? Twin Cities Magic
Twin
and
Cities
Costume?
Magic and Costume.
Yeah, that was the place that I never got anywhere, like even where you were when you were 12. I never got really that far.
You were into Magic?
But I did like Magic. You know what my favorite one was that I did buy? My friend Bill.
Zigzag Cigarette.
Nope, my friend Bill had the what was it called? The jewel stick. Hot Rod. Classic,
Fantastic.
Right? And he
Yes.
was really good at it. And and he would show me, and I'd still be like, he was really good at the hot rod. And there was even like a more advanced one, I think. There was like a beginner hot rod, and there was like a fancier one. He had both. Like
There's a lot of sort of gradations of that method.
Describe what that trick is.
It's the classic hot rod effect is you have a plastic stick, about the size of a golf pencil, but square, and embedded on both sides are 6 multicolored gems.
Yep.
And you show the gems on one side, you turn it over, and you show the gems on the other side. And your spectator, you ask them to select the color of a gem, and they select green. And you wave your hand over the stick, and all the gems turn green.
Mm-hmm.
And you turn it over, and you show that all the gems on the other side have turned green. And then you change back just one half, leaving one half of green and one half multicolored, and you can hand it out and people can examine it.
Yeah, and you flip it over like how the fuck, where's all the...
And it's so funny because that was, as a 10-year-old, that was one of my first tricks too.
Sure.
And it's because it's really great visual.
Oh, yeah.
If you've never seen it, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
And the premise is this is a jeweler's demo stick. Like the idea is like you have these gems, and this is how a jeweler, like when you go to a jeweler, you would choose what stone you'd like.
Right.
And here you're 10 years old. So I picked in my travels to Europe.
Yes. And I just figured this came in handy for Magic.
Yeah.
Not its main purpose. I love that. No, two of my favorites were the quarter that you could, the folding quarter.
Okay.
That you could put inside like a bottle.
Sure.
Right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was a quarter.
Don't describe it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Secrets.
It was that was the one that where I grew up in St. Paul. There was a Signal Hills shopping center in West St. Paul.
Oh yeah,
and they had like a little
kiosk with
magic kiosk. Exactly. Here's a quarter, and then they go like that, and then all of a sudden the quarter would be inside a back then it was glass bottle of pop.
Yeah,
and I was blown away.
Oh, it's a miracle. It is a miracle.
What?
Yeah,
and then they put it back in the hand, show you the quarter, and it's totally solid. Quarter.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, and that's a great, what a great diabolical, perfect magic method, because we assume a quarter is something we have in our pocket at all times, and we know that is a solid thing.
Yeah. You've had a quarter in your hand a million times.
Yeah.
You never just tossed it inside of object that's smaller, an opening that's smaller.
Fold? What the fuck?
And then my other one that I liked, imp bottles.
What?
Yeah.
The one that I can make it lay on its side?
Yes.
Will you try it?
Yes.
God love you. Try to make an entertaining routine out of that.
Oh, yeah, I know. And when I was 10, I thought that was super... I will tell you, Derek, I freaking dazzled everyone on Christmas in like 1986 with the imp bottles.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real puzzler.
Yeah. The whole trick to it,
yeah.
I think... Something may have slid out of my hand, and it probably got busted. And then everybody just went, "Oh no! Oh, that's amazing!" Played along. I'm pretty sure that.
Well, it's
happened.
funny. You kind of hitting on something that I've experienced as a professional magician. becoming an adult professional magician. When I was younger, I would perform restaurant magic, when I was like 15, 16, 17, through my early 20s, like for a good, I think 9 years on and off, I would do restaurant magic around the Twin Cities here. I think I worked every single TGI Fridays at one time or another.
Sure.
And then I did the Loring Cafe for a couple years on weekends, which was a more high-end sort of experience. But as a young performer, tell me if this makes any sense. As a young entertainer, someone 15, 16, walking up to a table of adults and sharing my magic, which is surprising and sometimes creepy, but it's a charming young person.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is wonderful. You have so much potential and you're so wonderfully talented. Thank you for this joy. Now cut to, I'm about, I'd say 30 pounds overweight. When I'm hired to do walk around at an event now, I'm a grown-up man.
Yeah.
Hi. Let me show you my mysteries.
If it's not good, then
no, even if it's good, like the magic is good, it's just I'm a grown-up person. There's not the innocence that allows someone to be fooled in a joyous way.
Okay, yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Why are you doing this? I don't know if that makes any sense, but I've experienced it. I've definitely noticed a shift in close-up magic audiences' acceptance of what I have to share at a gig.
Do you think that has anything to do with like close-up magic on television, what people see there?
No, I really do think it is. It has to do with sort of like the joyous acceptance of youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite one when you were a kid?
My favorite one, the trick from that magic hit, the 100 greatest magic tricks of the 20th century, was a trick called penny to dime. This was the first trick that really captured my imagination. I was like, I think this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It was an effect where you would have someone hold out their outstretched hand, palm up. You'd put a penny in the center of their hand, cover it with a simple matchbook, snap your fingers, lift the matchbook, and the penny was a dime.
Yeah.
And they could check out the matchbook, they could check out the dime. I mean, it was nothing to discover. I think there was something unconscious in my kid brain that the money thing, like a penny to dime, the alchemy.
Sure.
The potential, like the fantasy of being able to just make money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Was pretty big in my brain at that time.
If you were, let's say you're pitching yourself to someone at some new club, has no idea who Derek Hughes is. Yeah. How do you describe what you do up on stage for an hour, hour and a half?
I'd say it's a mashup of high-impact original magic routines and stand-up comedy. And wouldn't you say that? That's kind of nutshells it?
Yeah,
like I do magic. So. I open with magic. I close with magic. But I weave in sort of sections of straight stand-up monologue that lead back into magic.
Maybe you don't want to answer this, but could you fuck up some magic up on stage here and cover it up?
Oh, that happens.
Where you know that it's screwed up?
That happens quite a bit.
Does it really?
Sure.
And you know that, boom, I got this and that and this way to cover it up and that way to cover it up.
It's really smart to have some outs on hand.
Yeah.
It's brutal when it happens. But there's some, not to expose too much.
No, I don't. Yeah, and that's when I.
There are certain routines that are super impossible, but there's always a margin of error. So either you hit it and it's a fucking miracle, or you just are standing with your dick in your hands.
Yeah.
And no magic is anywhere to be seen.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. I have actually, oh God, it's embarrassing, but I've been in circumstances where working out a new routine, I haven't fully devised an out. Okay? An example was, were you in the house when I did the thing I called the skeptic on stage?
Yeah.
And there's an envelope inside an envelope inside an envelope, and that final envelope is one playing card?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
This is a miracle. This is a very strong trick, and I've been working on it for a handful of years. Early on, I was invited to perform at something called Gathering for Gardner. It was a convention of magicians, puzzle guys, and mathematicians. It happens every 2 years in Atlanta. Martin Gardner was a mathematician and magician who did all the recreational math puzzles for Scientific American for years and years.
Wow.
And it's just really interesting guy and really responsible for more people being into recreational math than anybody else, really. Like, cool guy. So I was invited as part of the magic element to perform in one of the evening magic shows. And there was a 12-year-old kid from London who's just super genius kid. He's running his own website that has his own algorithm, and he's, and he can talk in these terms, and he's just, he's got a British accent.
Yeah.
So he's adorable.
He already sounds smart.
So I called this kid on stage for my big finale. This is my big trick, and this is early on, and I know for these guys, these brainiac puzzle math guys, this envelope in the envelope in the envelope thing is going to fry them.
Yeah.
Okay? I just know it.
Awesome. All right.
I'm already reveling.
Here we go. Here we go.
So the first part of the set goes really great. We're having fun. And I know I'm going to pick that kid to do the envelope in the envelope in the envelope with the card thing.
Right.
So he comes up on stage, and we go through the whole process. Now, did you notice tonight I had the guy take the card out and put it in his pocket?
Yep.
Well, early on, I didn't do that. I just said, remember the card. Okay?
Yeah.
So we go through the whole crazy process where the cards are shuffled, cut, he selects, he can change his mind, he's narrowed it down to one. You know the card, you won't forget it. Fantastic. Name the card. This is my closer.
Yeah.
This kid names a card that it's not possible for him to name. Like, it's not possible that he saw that card.
Okay.
I know this.
Yeah.
Because I am the magician.
Right.
And he's not fucking with me. He just honestly has misremembered the card. But now I've had him on stage for 7 minutes, and every word out of his mouth has been comedy gold because he talks like an adult, but he's a kid.
Right.
And I had no out. I mean,
oh, no.
Justin, I was dead.
Oh no.
I just was like,
no.
And in the envelope is not the card you picked. Thank you. Good night.
Doesn't he have a great accent, everybody?
It was brutal.
Oh no.
My buddy kept singing quietly in my ear the rest of the conference. Everybody blows their closer sometimes.
Oh no.
He's a dick. One of the guys at the conference was a guy, his name's Bill Kalush. He's David Blaine's right-hand man. Mm-hmm. One of the producers on all his specials, and this guy knows everything about magic. He's just he runs something in New York called the Conjuring Arts Research Center, and he has one of the most vast collections of ancient books on magic. I mean, he knows a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was, he was in the audience. He hasn't seen me perform a bunch. It was so painful.
Oh.
And afterwards, he's like, yeah, you got to have them take the card. Or you got to have them show the card to someone else. You can't trust one person with that information.
Yeah. And now he
Otherwise,
puts it in
you
his
open
pocket.
yourself up to that moment of failure.
Oh.
Horrifying.
I want to talk about the show that you were on VH1.
Sure.
Because I did watch that.
You watched Celebricadabra?
How many episodes were there?
There was, I want to say 10.
Okay, I probably saw 5.
Yeah, Kid was my celebrity on
Yes.
Celebricadabra.
His name is Chris?
Chris Reed.
Chris Reed. That's
yeah.
right.
Very cool guy.
Yeah.
Super chill.
If people don't know who that is, just Google House Party 2. House Party 1, House
Kid
Party 2.
in Play. They were massively successful when they were young kids. It was a 2-person hip-hop act.
Yeah, a lot of dancing.
Oh, a lot of dancing.
Yeah.
And Kid was he had light skin and kind of buggy eyes, and he had this huge
eraser
high-top fade.
Yep.
And we talked about that. He remembers when he started growing it out, and it was a little short, but it was kind of flat on top, and it was just a few inches, and he started getting like people would point it out. And that was this people are noticing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep this going.
Yeah.
And it totally, it was his signature.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And you had to teach your job, not you had to, but your job on that TV show was to teach him magic tricks.
That's right. It was like an elimination type Dancing with the Stars thing but teaming celebrities up with magicians who would design magic for them.
You just did the quotation marks thing with your finger when you said celebrities.
Well, come on, look at the roster. You know?
I don't even remember.
Dude, they didn't tell us who the celebrities were.
Okay.
And they shot the Magic Castle was the hub of the show.
What you've been talking about tonight.
That's right. So we were in the Palace of Mystery, the main showroom at the castle, which they'd cleared all the seats out. That's where the judges were sitting, and they had all the celebrities lined up. And then we were on stage as the coaches behind the curtain. And the celebrities were going to meet us, and we were going to meet the celebrities for the first time.
Yeah.
That curtain opens, Justin. I didn't know who the fuck any of these people were.
No.
I was like, who are these, quote, celebrities, man? No. But turns out there was some great to see Tommy Howell.
Oh yeah,
from
see
Soul
Thomas
Man
Howell.
and
Yeah,
Outsiders.
Of course. Yeah,
you know, Hal Sparks, who's headlined this club.
Oh yeah,
great stand-up and a host on The Soup for a while.
Yep.
A great talking head on VH1 shows.
Yeah,
you know?
I do remember. Okay,
he's
right.
Awesome, and
that's
that guy.
Right.
I mean, talk about he's all into karate and clean living, and the guy doesn't touch drugs or alcohol. And man, he got into it. Like he learned some serious stuff. And then see Tommy Howell swooped in and took it from him. Kim was a pussycat doll, just gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Super sweet girl.
How was it teaching
Chris
celebrity?
Chris was great in that.
Was he eager?
Chris wasn't eager. Chris was just trying to get his momentum going again in some direction.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been dormant. You know, he wrote the theme song for Bill Maher's Real Time. You know that dum dum dum.
Oh yeah,
that's Chris Kid Reed wrote that music. He's good friends with Bill.
Weird. That's random.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was hosting some sort of competition show in the last 10 years, wasn't he? Like,
you know, I think he's open to taking any job.
Yeah.
And this thing came along, and he was like, sure, why not? But he wasn't, like Hal Sparks was serious about this competition. Chris would like to go to Barney's and watch the game.
Yeah.
And maybe get together and work on some magic, you know, later that night, or, you know, like he was very chill about it. And the advantage of having him is he was song and dance. You said dance was the big thing with Kid and Play. I had a song and dance man. I had a real showman.
Yeah.
So we could take the simplest effect and he could make it a big thing. So we made it through the first couple rounds. And you know, we only got paid for as long as we stayed on the show.
Oh, whoa.
It wasn't a guarantee, you know.
It's like working on commission. You got to be a salesman.
I did that show for the Magician's Special. The 10th episode was basically a magic special where all the coaches
got to show your shit.
Got to do stuff with a professional camera crew, professionally edited, and then we got that tape. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as a performer, as you know, I mean, talking to comics, tape is gold.
Sure, that's good stuff.
Grail.
Yeah, you want that.
So we shot live street magic out on the streets of Vegas, actually, is where my segment for the Magician Special took place. And that was the main reason I said yes to the project. I was lucky I got Chris. I wasn't too concerned that we only went like 3 weeks before he got voted off.
Yeah.
Because the judges were like, I kept designing these like kind of self-working effects that he could make big with his personality, and the judges were like, okay, great performance, you're moving on, but we need to see the skill level raised, and, you know, without like a passion to really rehearse it. I don't think people quite understand. I consulted for the Guthrie years ago on the Cherry Orchard, and I had to teach one of the actors a couple of simple tricks, and it's amazing to me how people kind of can assume, oh, I get it. If they know how it's done, they think they got it.
Yeah.
And they can do it.
Yeah.
But the key to doing magic that is effective is rehearsing the shit out of it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Hours and hours of solitude and practice, which I enjoy to no end.
How's your wife like that?
Well, she's usually sleeping or breastfeeding the baby. I mean, this kid.
You better get another baby. He's getting old. He's getting old.
One's on the way.
Oh, really?
April.
Oh, no kidding.
We're due.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Hey, that's some fresh news right there. Well, congrats,
very
man.
exciting. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It was a surprise, but a pleasant one.
Yeah.
You know? I was under the impression that while breastfeeding, a woman wasn't able to get pregnant. I was wrong.
Yeah. April.
Holy
crap.
Yeah, good news.
Yeah, that is good news.
We figured, we're thinking 2 is a great number.
Yeah.
And kind of into the idea of zero population growth. Do you know this idea?
Sure.
Like 1 for 1.
Replace yourself.
Exactly. And that's enough because, man, God knows there's plenty of us.
Yeah. Well, you live in California where I assume you live in like a closet somewhere.
We moved to a 2-bedroom when we had Edward, and it's not enough space.
No.
And the shit's expensive.
Yeah.
It's like $2,000 for this 2-bedroom. I mean, oh my God. We talked to a broker, okay, about getting a place, found out what they would approve us for. By the way, they said over $500,000 is what they said I could get approved for. And this was post-crisis. Mm-hmm. I'm a fucking magician. What bank is saying, $550,000? I think we should clear you up to that.
Yeah. Your mortgage payment is $4,000. Go ahead. No problem.
Yeah. Just ridiculous. And the agent that we were talking to showed us a handful of places, which, by the way, you know what $500,000 gets you in Southern California?
Not too much,
A shack.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God.
When you moved from here, where did you go first?
New York.
Yeah.
I went to New York City for
By
about
yourself?
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Roommates out there?
No, I didn't have roommates. I found a very small apartment in Greenwich Village, 8th Avenue and 12th Street. It was on cobblestone, Justin. There was a stop sign on my corner in Manhattan.
Sounds beautiful.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
7 feet by 11 feet square.
Wow.
Was the apartment. 3 skylights. A lot of light.
Yeah.
I had to fold my futon up to get into the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Nice.
It was ridiculous.
Nice.
What's nuts about New York, too, is people would come over and literally be like, great place. Like, what the fuck?
Where'd you find this? Is there another one?
Yeah. $1,000. $1,000 a month. And worth it. It was amazing. I loved living in New York. My philosophy in New York was you rent a bedroom and you live in the city.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to have any dinner parties.
No.
One night we played a prank on some friends, and I had like 5 buddies that were in the immediate vicinity, and 3 people were coming over, and we were all going to go out. I was like, okay, come on over. I got, some people are coming over, and then we'll all head out, And one guy was hiding out on my fire escape. And these 3 people showed up to the apartment, and they came in. They'd never seen my apartment, so like they come in like, this is small, and we're already 4 of us in the room are already like kind of filling the room.
Yeah.
And there's a knock on the door.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, come on in. 2 more guys come in. There's another knock on the door. Another guy comes in. There's a knock on the window. A guy comes in from the fire escape like a clown car.
Stupid.
They were like, what's going on?
That's ridiculous.
Awesome. And then living in New York was great. I developed a relationship with a commercial agent there who they're great, and they have an office in LA as well. And when I moved to LA, I hooked up with them. But Sarah Jane, that agent, my first agent here in Minneapolis, she started working with a manager, Nancy Kramer, who had discovered an actor named Josh Hartnett and had brought him out to LA. Yeah. And Nancy said she dealt mostly with kids, but as an experiment, I was an older client, and she would see what she could do. And so I went from New York, I sublet my apartment, and moved to LA and crashed on a friend's floor for a few months and did auditions and got a guest star on Angel, the vampire show, the spinoff from Buffy.
Yeah. You were on that?
I played a burrower demon. I was in the 2nd episode of the entire series ever. Right after the pilot, 2nd episode. Got to kick Angel's ass.
Nice.
Had a good fight scene.
Yeah.
And so that was like, wow, okay, this is cool. And let go of the apartment in New York, moved to LA permanently.
That's how that happened.
And one of the first auditions after that permanent move was for something called Grown Ups on the UPN. Paramount had their own network for a while. Let me tell you, this show, the star of the show was Jaleel White. It was Urkel.
Guess what?
Boom. he had this sitcom called Grown Ups, and it was his chance to break the stereotype of Urkel.
Right.
And it only ran for 1 year. And mid-season, they added a new workplace. And that I was the boss at the new workplace.
Yeah.
I played this young computer game savant. And Patrick Bristow, great character actor, was on the first Ellen show for years. And he was added as sort of my stuffy, ambiguously gay assistant.
Sure.
And I did a handful of episodes on that show as a series regular, which at the time I didn't realize how lucky and great that was to be added as a series regular on a running show.
Yeah.
I mean, I never did a pilot, but I did a number of series that went right to filming a handful of episodes.
Yeah.
And so I thought Hollywood was easy. It was like, oh, you just show up.
So you just move here and then they give you a job?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But that was pretty great. So that was why I ended up moving to L.A.
Yeah. How was Jaleel?
Jaleel was hilarious because the show was not what he thought the show was going to be. It was a multi-camera sitcom. But when he was originally pitched it was pitched as a single-camera dramedy, like Ally McBeal type of thing. You know what I mean? So it was going to have more of a film quality, and it wasn't going to have a live audience. And it was because he really was conscious about breaking that. He knew that America saw him as a multi-camera.
Did I do that?
Guy. Bam.
Yeah. I want a legendary Nick Swartzen story. You and him, because I know you've been on the road with him, and I know you guys are friends.
You know, I missed out a little bit. I have gone on the road with him on during one of his tours, and he draws an amazing crowd, and he has an incredible fan base. And he's a hero of mine in many ways. He was writing Bucky Larson at the time that I was on the road with him, and this guy, he parties hard.
Yeah.
And then when he's working, he doesn't party. I mean, he divides that. He knows when he needs to get shit done, and he puts his nose to the grindstone and has a work discipline like nobody I know.
Yeah.
And he always has.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that he could be a great magician.
Yeah.
Because he knows how to focus.
Sure.
So when we went on the road, I literally like detoxed for a couple weeks before hitting the road with him because I knew like this is gonna be wild.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to bed.
No.
I gotta write, and which was kind of thankful. I could have really hurt myself. I'll tell you a story about one of Nick's first visits to L.A. He was doing Louis Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Was doing a Showtime comedy showcase show.
Yeah.
And he got Nick booked on the show to do a set. So Nick was flown out to L.A. I was out there at the same time doing a industrial video for a hospital. Just happened to be there, both working at the same time. And we shared a hotel. And he wanted to go to the Improv. And he'd never been to the Improv, And this is the club now where there's a big poster of him right outside the showroom.
Really?
Before you go into the Melrose Improv, there's Nicky.
Yeah.
Right? But this was daytime. He'd never been there. And we walk in the front door and no one is there. There's a janitor cleaning up tables.
Yeah.
Setting up for the night. And Nick, hey, to the janitor, I'm a comic. His balls out confidence and focus and direction and going right into the Improv and just like his enthusiasm that he was in this spot and he just had to share with whoever was fucking present.
Yeah, and the janitor probably took his hand off the broom and like wiped some snot off his nose. Like,
he didn't stop sweeping.
No, didn't even stop. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Like, I don't understand English. Yeah. So welcome to LA.
No sé.
Yeah.
No sé. I don't know. What's in the near future for you?
Right now, a second baby. The future, it's very hard to prognosticate. But I think developing some sort of online content or an online venue for my voice in some way. And I don't know what that...
What are you doing now?
Well...
What's your online voice now?
Oh,
Nothing?
Nothing. Man.
Nothing.
I mean, I got a website that has a link to some YouTube footage of me down at Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
Which I lucked out, got a great set. One of the headline comics was shooting a DVD with multi-cameras. And I was like, hey, guys.
Can I?
I was opening for him for 2 nights, doing 12 minutes a night. I wore the same clothes and did different material each night. The crew said, I was like, how much would it cost for you guys to shoot me? And they're like, bring us tape.
Sweet.
It was amazing.
Yeah, sweet.
So just awesome audience reactions. So that's real wonderful footage. And, that's what's online. I'm nervous to post stuff because then it's out there. You know what I mean? Like once you put something up, that's out there. It's up and people can access it, and
Isn't that a good thing?
Not if it's not. I don't know. I'm such a. Maybe it's my experience in magic, and like with a magic trick, you work that shit out before you show anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there might be a different thing with media nowadays, where you like podcasts, like here we are, and this is going to go out there, and this will be available into the future.
Sure,
So maybe some courage and some fearlessness is required. I feel a lot of responsibility being a new father. And I don't quite know what that means yet. I didn't really have a good role model in that department.
Okay.
But I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I think I've been experimenting by helping others with their project and helping them sort of define a voice.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of on the radar for me.
We should. I know we're almost done here, but we should talk.
This is really fun.
Good.
Thanks, Justin.
Is it?
Yeah.
We should talk about your history here. I mean, this is Acme's podcast. That's why I'm doing this. It's to promote whoever's on stage here and this club, which is fucking the best.
It's the best club.
So, your history with Acme.
Well,
do you remember your first time on stage here?
I'll tell you, my history with Acme goes pre-Acme. Before this space was a comedy club called the Rib Tickler. Did you know this?
No. I've heard that, but
Did you know what the Rib Tickler was?
I was never here. No.
It was a comedy magic club.
Was it really?
That's right. So when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, every week there was a headline comic and a headline magician. And this was a venue where the top acts touring were coming in. So I begged my parents to sneak me into this room.
No kidding.
And I sat in the front row when Paul Kozak was, talking about how his parakeet on his shoulder only eats pot, and the bird would inevitably shit on him at some point during the show, and he would laugh it off, saying, "I'll smoke it later."
Nice.
He called me out like, "How old are you?" "Oh, Jesus, how the hell?"
Yeah.
So this place is iconic.
Wow.
In my psyche,
even more than I would have imagined.
Oh, big time. So this place became Acme.
Yep.
And it was Swartzen, I think. It was his responsibility that I first did a set on this stage. The HBO Comedy Festival was scouting for comics for their Aspen Comedy Festival. And Nick called me up one morning, and he's like, "Hey, Acme's doing a contest for an HBO festival. You want to go down?" So we got in the car and came down and signed up, and there was like a couple hundred contestants from all over.
Yeah,
from Wisconsin, from and we both were selected as part of the 10 finalists for that night. And Frank Caliendo was on that same lineup. He came in from Milwaukee.
Sure.
And from that night, Lisa Leangang was the scout for HBO at the time. She's since become a big comedy honcho over at NBC, and responsible for just a lot of, she was a big supporter of Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah,
and getting them over and getting them.
Sure. I just talked to Arj a few weeks ago.
So good.
Yeah.
So we got in. We did our sets during the day for nobody, for the judges, and then in the 10 finalists we got to perform for the audiences that night.
Yeah.
And I did 10 minutes of magic stuff that I was doing at the restaurants.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing stand-up at the time at all. I was doing private parties, corporate events, and magic at the restaurants. And Nick won that night, and the prize was you can go to Zany's and do the next tier of this competition to
Sure.
get to Aspen. And so Nick won. Awesome. He'd been doing stand-up like 6 months, right? His old Zima joke. Do you remember Zima? It's so funny. So I get a call the next day from Lisa saying, we can't pay your way, but we'd love to have you come to Zanies and showcase for the next level as well. Frank got that same call. So Nick and I drove out together to Chicago and did that level. And Nick, that's the year he went to Aspen. Like, he won. He was one of the guys. Took me a couple more tries.
Well,
but so that was my entree to the stage. And
now you've been coming back to headline for many years.
You don't even get a real sense of what's funny in this room because the audience is so magically alive and ready for comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little guilty pleasure kind of playing this room. It's a little like shooting fish in a barrel, just because it's just no room in the country is as present and as ready for what it is we do as solo performers.
I think that's it. Where do
This is
people
awesome.
Where do people find you online?
DerekHughes.net.
Derek, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
This has been awesome.